Welcome to today's Open Tabs conversation, where we talk about all the things that are taking up space in our Google Tabs, literally, and our minds. Okay, so first topic I wanted to talk about today, we kind of touched on it last week, and I feel like it's kind of been an underlying theme in a lot of the things we're talking about, but today we're like putting an actual name to it. So last week, The Cut released an article about friction maxing, and how like they think that's going to be a major theme for 2026. We didn't coin a term for it, but like Megan, you released a Substack article about it a year ago about how you think friction and like is going to make a big comeback in people's lives. And I feel like a year later, it's like really coming to fruition. So, to get on the same page, friction maxing, according to The Cut, is the process of building up a tolerance for inconveniences, which they caveat like really like the inconveniences of like human interaction and just being a human who lives among other humans in general. And that people will like find more joy in friction maxing and just like embracing being a human. Um, so Megan, I wanted to like start with you since you predicted this a year ago. Like, why friction? Why are people seeking friction?
Yeah, so I actually can't take full credit for this. I came up with this in response to reading Kyle Shaka's book, Filter World, where he talks about the internet and the algorithms and how the algorithms are shaping our actual physical world. And one word that kept coming up when I was reading it was like seamlessness, frictionlessness, and like and I was like, okay, well, if the internet is so much about frictionlessness and people are starting to get fatigued with the internet, the pendulum's gonna swing the opposite way and they're actually gonna embrace the things that the internet has taken away from us, which is friction. So I basically wrote a piece making a case for friction being like an important part of life that people were gonna start seeking out. And here we are, friction maxing in 2026, which is like a lot more just questioning if we need our phone to do things. Like, should we ask someone versus Googling it? Should we ask our mom for a recipe versus finding one online? Just those things of those like human interactions that we have replaced with the internet, thinking about ways that we can get them back in real life again.
Melissa, what's your POV like as a mom too?
I know. I'm like, can I have more friction? No, thanks. Well, no, it's so funny, this concept. I have been sort of sitting with it. I think it makes sense. And then I think like when we were sort of chatting about this before in our prep call, like the first space to me that came to mind was just like Disney World, and how Disney is this, it's the number one travel destination in the entire world. And, there's just layers upon layers of like different like types of communities that are obsessed with Disney. There's like Disney adults, there's like the foodies, there's like the influencers, there's like just parents, there's just, all of that. And when you step back for a second and you think about what Disney World is, like it's not a relaxing vacation, it's a made up, man-made place. Like it's not, like what is this experience that we're all buying into? And going is exhausting. And like you have to hack it and like you have to sort of like, you know, crack the code to Disney or like discover new things and all of that. And so it sort of made me, I was thinking about it. And then the more that I was thinking about this idea, like then I was like, well, that's also like this idea of friction, buying into friction and human force, like human experiences also. It's like even just like the decision to live in like New York City. Like if anyone has ever lived in New York City, it's not the easiest place to live. It's hard. You have to grind it out, whatever. Yet it is still such a popular place to live. It's not like people don't live there or people are leaving. Um, and then my mind also went to this idea of like the prevalence of like private, clubs or experiences or like Soho houses and, One Bond and like all these, these like membership gatekeepers to like, so it's almost like, again, you have to do something to get to get into it. And then I will say the last thing that this made me think of too is even like the trad wives thing too, where like, again, it's like you're leaning into like the old school way of being a mother or a mom or a wife and like how you cook and it's like laborious, so it's just sort of interesting to kind of sit with it because then like so many things that are so popular right now are filled with like intentional friction. Like none of them are like easy or comforting, kind of like they are hard.
Yeah, and I think something that you're getting at that I think is an interesting distinction between what people are craving versus friction just for the sake of friction is like overcoming something. And like when you mention like clubs and members clubs, I feel like the friction overcoming, knowing like we all overcame the same friction to get here, that's a bonding experience that I think people are looking for. And both in my piece and the piece that they wrote in the cut, it was very much focused around parenting and how so much of the past parenting of the past generation, Gen Z, was about removing obstacles and removing friction from their path. But then that has led to a generation of people who don't really know how to handle struggle and adversity very well because they've never had to deal with it in the easy ways that kids have to deal with adversity. So now they're faced with adult adversity for the first time in their 20s and they're just at a complete loss for what to do. So I also think that's a big reason why friction maxing is a hot topic right now because there is literally a generation of young people who are learning how to deal with inconveniences maybe for the first time in their lives. And maybe this isn't a concept so much for like busy moms who have plenty of friction in their day to day,
Yeah, I don't know if this is my, like, I'm in this target audience, but
Yeah. I'm also not friction maxing. I'll just say I'm like still looking to like make my life as easy as possible, but I've always been into like slower paced analog things. So I feel like, I don't need to max. I've been microdosing my whole life.
Mm. As a millennial, I think, Melissa, I hadn't even thought of like living in Manhattan is basically friction maxing, like me walking to the grocery store. I'm friction maxing. So I feel like similar to Megan, like I'm a very analog. I like to read physical books in my free time. I love a good zine. I love a good magazine. Me and my friends like send each other snail mail. Like I like physical stuff, but I have noticed like when and Megan, everything's connected to friction masking because your piece for Empty Deco tomorrow is about like customer service and people don't want to talk to chatbots. People want to talk to people, even if maybe it's a little more inconvenient to like set up a phone call. I'm very much that. Like when I go to the grocery store, I'd much rather go to like not the self-checkout, but to an actual person to ring me up. Like same when I go to the pharmacy and I'm like, I don't like, I think I'm maybe just like desensitized, but I will also like talk to people like in the subway and stuff, like strangers that I don't know. So I feel
you
like
do?
yeah, if I see, like, a girl my age, yeah, and a lot of people come up to me too, like, me and my sister were talking about that, like, why people come up and start conversations with me on the trains all the time, maybe it's just my face, but I feel like it's, like, working from home, like, working on a computer all day, like, talking to people, like, on the phone all the time. I like those little bursts of friction maxing that I can get, like, IRL.
Yeah, and those are actually called the sociological term for that is loose ties. So like the people who you see kind of around, but like you don't really like know the day to day of what's going on in their lives, but like they work at the grocery store, they get gas at the same place, and those are actually more key to happiness than people would think. And that's part of why there's so much unhappiness right now is because we're losing a lot of those loose ties. And I think part of it is so much just like discard culture. And we're going to talk about this in the piece, so read it when it comes out. But I think what it really comes down to is just like the employees feel disposable, the customer feels disposable, and neither of them is very invested in making that interaction like a meaningful one. But I think that there's a gap there for the brands that are willing to fill it because there is such an appetite for this sort of interaction right now.
Mm. Okay, so as
Oh,
we
wait, before we change this topic, though,
Mm.
what's the takeaway then for brands or for individuals, that we work with when it comes to digital strategy? Like, so what's the so what? Like, what's like the thing to put in the file in the back of one's head if you are working on a brand or working with a person?
I think Megan said it, which is like, it seems counterintuitive, but like making people work for it a little bit, whether that's like a wait list or doing a real like IRL in-person event that people have to like get in the car or like walk down the street or take the train to go to. I feel like those, like, always making sure though, if you do that, there is that like human payoff at the end, and people are getting that dopamine hit. So it feels rewarded.
Yeah, building on that, I always tell brands to think of themselves as like facilitators. And so I think what are some ways they could facilitate some of these
Mhm.
interactions better, whether that's literally in their processes in retail stores or if that's they're going to have some sort of conference like BravoCon, I feel like is a response to this type of energy of like wanting friction in terms of just like those women are always having friction with each other, but then also like going to New York and being on the ground and being in the mix with people. So I think thinking about ways that you can, again, friction maxing is the trend that's solving the problem, but the larger thing that is that people are looking for meaningful interactions with people who they want to be in community with.
I love that.
I
Okay.
love that.
Yay. And I'm gonna like I'll keep you guys posted on my friction maxing um in New York City and how it goes for me. Okay, so the next topic I wanted to talk about was this article I caught in Fast Company. And I think the title kind of says it all. Branded content will just be entertainment in 2026. And they talk about how brands are all investing in kind of like high production, longer form content. So some of the examples the article calls out is WhatsApp is partnering with is working on a Netflix doc about the Mercedes F1 team. Dick's in-house entertainment studio. I think they'll largely be doing like sports documentaries. Um, and then InBev, which is like a beverage company, just partnered with Netflix to do like entertainment strategy because Netflix is investing in sports and like live sports content. Um, so I wanted to like talk to you guys. Oh, among all this too, Instagram announced in December, like right before the holidays, that they're testing out Instagram for TV. So you'll be able to like scroll through reels on your actual TV. They're trying to get in on like YouTube's dominance with that. And more over in China, brands like Starbucks, and KFC are launching like short form mini soap dramas about like a Starbucks barista and like a KFC delivery guy. Um, so I wanted to pick your all's brain about like how we feel. I feel like this is the next evolution from like a regular sponsored post.
Well, first of all, I think this is really exciting. And it's, you know, I think, I mean, coming from a background of news, like TV news, working at NBC and CNN for well over a decade before starting MT Deco, one of the things that has been sort of fulfilling and interesting, even more so in the past like 5 years, is this idea of like, you know, regular, just like companies starting almost like newsrooms like inside their company, right? And like I have a lot of former colleagues where it's just like funny because back in the day working, in 2016, let's use 2016 since it's trending right now. 2016, the year that I got married, um being in news for social was like not the cooler job. It was like, the people who were in entertainment kind of had like the cooler position. And news was like just more intense, more serious, and like just not as quote unquote fun. But in news, we ended up like developing more of like a crisis comms skill set that fast forward through like Me Too, COVID, all of that now, or cancel culture too, like now having like an inherent skill set where you have this like sort of healthy paranoia and you treat almost any brand with like a news mentality um, is a good thing. And so it's funny, I've actually helped shepherd like almost creating newsrooms at different organizations. And I have a number of former colleagues in news that do that almost. It's almost like this like hybrid branded content studio in-house / social team / whatever. So, I mean, I think it's really interesting. I think it's like this continued like fragmentation. Um, oh my gosh, hey Ernest. Also, hi Gra, just saying hello to some folks who are listening in. Um, I feel like this like continued fragmentation of like now it's like not just, you know, cable channels or streamers or social media platforms or creators or in-house creators, but now we're also contending with like all of these brands. Like there could be a day where like you open up your, you know, your app, your phone, your TV app, and like one of the apps is the Home Depot. And you're like, okay, and now I'm just going to watch Home Depot content, you know? So I think it's really exciting, especially if you have a background in content creation and all of that. But it's also like, there's also just the danger of like quality control, um, development. I don't know. I mean, again, like from a professional standpoint, exciting. From like a consumer standpoint, I don't know. I mean, is more content better? What do you think, Megan?
I completely agree. Like I like the energy and I like kind of like the impulse to chase what's more relevant and like where content is headed. But I question if this is really what people want from brands. But I also am not confident in saying no, this isn't going to work because I think it will work, but it'll be execution dependent. So I think that there will be certain brands that are able to really do this and create really compelling series, and that becomes a part of their core social media strategy. And then I think there will be some brands where it's just like a complete swing and a miss, and they pour a bunch of money into this and it doesn't work. So I think it's just, again, there's a larger trend here. It's inevitable. It's happening, whether we want it or not. Brands have to ride it. It's just a matter of like how successful they're going to be at doing that. And it's so much dependent on their teams and how kind of what you said, like building a news crisis room type environment that's like going to be more responsive versus just like mandating this is exactly what we need to happen.
I think I agree with you guys too. To say like I think it's very exciting. I do think like in the examples they pulled out, like another in the article, another great one was UPS. They partnered with Subway Takes to do like a YouTube series where he follows around a UPS driver and like meets and interviews the people he's delivering packages to, and they saw great return on that. I feel like if brands do it, they have to, like, they're all partnering with experts, whether that's like Netflix or Subway Takes. I also do wonder as a consumer, like, if people are like, great, like now I'm going to be being sold to like more explicitly in the TV shows I watch and like the long form content. Like it's one thing if there's like subtle product placement, like Coca-Cola with the label out, but now it's
We'll
like,
talk about this with Nobody Wants This, where they're like, is that at the LA Regenerist? Like,
yeah, and it's like it's a whole other thing if it's like heated rivalry presented by like
Yeah, you know,
like,
I just think I feel like we've talked about this. It was like the middle of last year, and I feel like there's this weird convergence happening of like books online, and it's like you're getting these like you're again, this is in my own like silo of content consumption, but like it's like these like multi-chapter previews of like, and then it's like it's almost AI created visual that complement it, and there's like audio to it, and I just get sucked into this reading this, but it's like a video reading experience. Also simultaneously happening with these like mini dramas. Like Emma and I have both talked about this like weird mini drama like from this app that we both like have been sucked into. Like I don't even know what this storyline is, but it's like this this
Which
woman
one? Tell me, I might have seen it.
this woman, her name is Eleanor, and she's like the secret like head of this like really wealthy family, and she's like in the Thunder Circle, and she meets this guy on the airplane who's the head of the Whitmore Group, who's like a big investor in the Thunder Circle, but he doesn't know who she is. And it's just this painfully long, like poorly acted drama of them like going through, and then like she was like in Africa for 3 years, like, and now she's returning home
Okay,
to the
but
Thunder Circle. Anyway,
this is a soap opera. Like, I
yeah,
used to watch Passion after school, and it was like exact same as these micro dramas where it's
yeah.
like my cousin and I always talk about it. We'll like look up clips and we're like, we were watching this as children, just absolutely wrapped and this like melodrama that's like so badly acted, but it's the same thing.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say a note on that like passions thing. I feel like that was such a smart, amazing moment in time. I was not part of that fandom, but like I know many of my like peers and friends were. And like I feel like that was a missed moment, like a missed opportunity. Like that could have been like double down on content, and like that could be, like that. I think that
Sure,
they
they were.
tapped into.
When this is back when ad space was still on TV. I'm sure they were making bank in terms.
Yeah, well, no, but like there's, I
This
feel
is
like
when people are watching.
I feel like people wanted that, and like a younger set of people were really into. It was a missed opportunity for the soap opera community. Point being is that all of which to say, it's like, was Quibi ahead of their time? I don't know. Like, I feel like these like mini
I think
dramas.
their only mistake was charging so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Quibi, like,
in my mind, I think if they had done their monetization model differently, I think they would still be around.
I think so too. And it's interesting. I follow this guy on TikTok. He used to date this influencer that I followed. So then I followed him and I forgot that I was following him until today, actually.
Who? I'm curious
His
now.
name is Cam something. I will link his account in the show notes, but he is an actor and he is starring in a vertical like mid shorts series. And today or at least I saw his video today, and he was talking about like, oh, I thought this was just like a fun, silly little thing. Like my agent sent me, and I was just like, yeah, like let me do it. And he's like, my account's like blowing up and my comments are being like bombarded. He's like, this is crazy. And he was saying that it's all book talk girls, and they're like fan casting him as the male lead in their different books. And he was just like, this was just like a stupid thing. Like I thought would be kind of fun and like for me to flex my acting and put on my resume. And he's like, it's totally like blown him up, at least on TikTok.
no, 100%. Like there are some forces in the world right now shifting this and moving it forward, and like whoever you are out there who has a hand in this, like we want to talk to you because I see it happening, and it's like I'm experiencing it myself, and it's content that is not stuff that I'm following. It's like within my For You pages. I want to say I do think that they are working hard on that Instagram algorithm because it is getting better. And it is serving up like way more stuff. Like I'm discovering way more on Instagram. Like, good job, guys. Like whatever the hell you did, Shane. But this is like a whole new thing. And I feel like it's fascinating. And I think that this like the whole book thing. Remember when we talked about Shein and books? Like and then that meets like maybe, okay, Emma, maybe Shein has like a weird plan for book content. Like You know what I mean? I don't know. Like,
I would not be surprised at all if I opened TikTok and then all of a sudden Shein has a shorts drama series, like pulling from BookTok books that you can then buy on their site.
yeah. And then it connects to the analog and the touching and the friction.
I mean, I think it's like I think we're just gonna this is like only the tip of the iceberg. And I mean Kaylee and Cole Shiny, you guys just wrote about like AOL like fanfics and like how it's having like a resurgence and obviously heated rivalry. I'm like, it was a good show. I very much enjoyed it. I think it's like a little too much for me now. Like I need a break from the heated rivalry content. But
Oh my
yeah,
God, Nikki Glazer. We just have to like Nikki Glazer's joke about that is just like it. Did you guys hear it from the Golden
refresh
Globes?
my memory.
She was like, she's like, oh, and heated rivalry is really like, I'm not going to deliver this well at all, but she's like, heated rivalry has just really revealed Americans' like interest in more hockey content. I She is so funny. By the way, if you guys haven't watched, she is very, I think, good friends with Howard Stern, and like she's been in his like orbit for a long time. And like last year, after she like had her first debut doing the Globes, she like flew overnight and like was on his show. And so like they did the same thing this year, and it was so brilliant. She read all the jokes that she didn't use on his show.
Funny.
It was so funny. Like I watched it now on Instagram on the Howard Stern account like twice. Like it's just like funny. And like even like Tank Sinatra wrote like I can watch 30 minutes of this. Like this is hilarious. So anyway, kudos to her for that joke. And I still need to watch Heated Rivalry, but now I don't know if I do. I don't know.
You'll
I
get
sort
there.
of feel like not interested in it. Or
Maybe
hockey content.
I feel like maybe it's like being shoved down your throat a little bit, and like in 6 months' time,
Yeah.
when it's cooled off, then you'll sit down.
I'm
And
in the Throne of Glass series, which is actually not very spicy compared to like ACOTAR. But I do feel like I'm getting like my romanticy fix through that. So maybe that's why I'm just like disinterested. I don't know.
well, to close the loop on, I love how we got to the Golden Globes and like Nikki Glaser heated rivalry, because maybe next year, WhatsApp and UPS will be at the Golden Globes.
Yes.
Maybe
Look,
there will be a mini series.
there's a podcast category. I mean, all that mini drama series. Like,
Yeah,
who knows?
who knows?
I mean, I would, if I was producing a mini drama series, I would put Sydney Sweeney at the start of it right now and just like see what happens, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if I would be like tapping all the influencers, like all the influencers who have like acting aspirations. I feel like that's what I'd
Yeah,
be doing.
that's smart.
Okay, so our last topic is kind of like if you're too online, like us, and you need a break. My Both my Instagram and TikTok have been completely taken over by ads for Brick. Not sure if everyone's familiar, but it's a magnet, and the idea is that you're supposed to stick it to your refrigerator. They're like very specific in their ads that it be your refrigerator for some reason. And it will lock you out of all of your social media accounts and basically like any app that like would be bugging you with notifications. So I think it also works on text and like Gmail. And if you want to like unblock it, you have to physically get up and tap your phone on the brick. That's a magnet on your refrigerator. And for like the past month, I feel like this is like 75% of the ads that are being fed to me. And while that's happening, and like we're in the second week of the year, the Wall Street Journal said that like digital detoxes are one of the top New Year's resolutions for 2026. And the New York Times is predicting that dumb phones and flip phones will be making a comeback. I feel like this is like the fifth year in a row that they've predicted that. And maybe 2026 will be the year. sticks. But I wanted to know, like, are you guys getting served up brick ads? And like, what do you think? Like, is this just a New Year's resolution fad? Do you think people are actually going to be seriously trying to like decrease their screen time this year?
I'm
I am not.
personally not getting a
Yeah,
lot of
same.
content for this. I'm getting a lot of discourse about bricking more than I'm getting the actual brick content. Um, but my stance on this is I refuse to buy technology built to solve a problem that was created within my lifetime. So I'm like, I'm not going to buy a brick because it's solving for phone addiction, which is manufactured within the last 10 years. So I'm going to solve it the hard way. But I think it's like smart. It's like gamifying, trying to get rid of your phone addiction.
Mhm.
But I also don't really see it catching on long term. I think it's a little bit of a fad. And there's been several products like this throughout the years that have been more like artsy and avant garde and more like making a statement about phone addiction versus like being an actual consumer product. And this is kind of just the first time I've seen it actually be like a consumer product. But at one point, someone actually made like a literal brick that was a phone to be like, look, then your phone won't be desirable to carry around. So like, I feel like we've been playing with this idea forever, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that is hilarious. It's like the Zach Morris phone. I think I have not been fed brick. I'm surprised because I do feel like I am someone who would like to decrease my screen time. My screen time is a lot. Well, I don't know what you consider to be a lot. Like I'm on my phone. I guess I get my phone alert. It's like last week, it was like 5.5 hours a day on my phone.
That's not
That's
bad. You use it
nothing,
for
maybe.
work.
You don't think that's bad?
Yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah, you use it for work.
I mean,
I was trying to cope.
I was like, during like the
You're
holiday
fine.
during I mean, I don't know, it's like I just throw a number out. But during the holiday break, I did get it down to like 4. I don't know, like it's like I don't know what like a realistic amount is. The When I'm most focused on it is honestly when I'm putting the kids to bed and I'm like locked in a dark room while Teddy is falling asleep and I'm like, okay, let me go on my New York Times games and see if I can beat I mean, I'm pretty good at strands and I do Wordle and I'll do connections, but I really like one day I will beat the Sudoku medium level. But I have yet to do it. That's where my hours on my phone add up. But okay, joking aside, what do I think? I feel like the those who harken back to a time before phones do feel like there's some invisible like pull to the phone. And so like I do always want to like not feel so tied to it while also still feeling completely connected. So, I don't know what the answer is. I think where I would like to most change my phone behavior, is my sleep hygiene. Like, I was gonna say, like, if that's a real goal this year, and I feel like a couple years ago, I was very inspired, actually, by Lauren Bostic. She was very particular about, like, describing in detail, like, her bedroom, creating, like, a sanctuary, making sure that there's, like, like, the lighting, like, um, I I think I'm actually getting tested for allergies because it turns out like all my kids have allergies. So I think I have like a mold allergy. Like I want to get that taken care of. I want to do the mouth tape. Like I want to go to bed and sleep 8 hours and not wake up. So uh, in the spirit of that, I think that that's where I really feel inspired to change my phone behavior. And maybe that's the answer, Megan. Like maybe it's less about like the like my interaction with my phone, but like what in my real life does the phone behavior actually affect me? And for me it's sleep. So that's my
Yeah.
resolution, like for real, is like fix my sleep hygiene, which is my phone.
Yeah. I, as someone who has a lot higher screen time than 5 hours, but I'm not going to say what, but I also kind of accepted my phone addiction. And I've also like gone done several digital detoxes and stuff. And it really is just like you'll replace it with something else. Like it's like, okay, I'm gonna go get a cupcake. It's like you'll find something else. So it's really about solving like the deeper problems behind it. But I think that having something like a brick for sleep hygiene, I was like, oh, that I could see me actually for where it's like before, like, so it's not first thing I get up in the morning and look at my phone. Like that would be good. But I also feel like, okay, after about a week of I have to go downstairs to unlock my phone, I just start leaving my phone downstairs and like, do I need the brick anymore?
Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny? I just want to say too, I feel like also there should be like data and information around like the relaxation that one does feel from like a scroll session where you are able to just like sit down, breathe for a second, and like look at your phone. Like, I actually feel like Tinks talked about like relinquishing the guilt of that.
Yeah.
I think it was last year or the year before, and I have since been kinder to myself. Like you know what I mean? Like I think that that's also a part of this too. It's that like, is there a part of the phone where you're like consuming stuff in a light way and you're not like, that isn't the worst?
Totally.
Like everyone always says like, oh, pick up a book. Well, is that, I don't know.
Okay, I literally did that, Melissa. I deleted TikTok on my phone, and then I was just reading more books. But I was just reading like romance books. It's not like I was like, reading
like
and so
is
it's
the
like,
reading
what's
of
the difference between me scrolling TikTok and me reading yet another cliche romance novel? Like, I don't feel like there's that much of a difference.
Yeah, right? Like, is like picking up a magazine, like, or whatever, like in the time where you just want to decompress, like, what is the best thing? I will also say too, to that point, like, one of the things that has messed up, really like screwed with my sleep hygiene last year was some of my romantasy books, because I like start reading them at night and then I can't put them down because they're like, like they're very like you get sucked into them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I don't know. It is weird. It is one of those things where I feel like we need to question it. Like, reading is a wonderful thing.
I think it all comes down to impulse control and dopamine addiction. And I think cell phones have exacerbated our human impulse to just chase that desire down to its very end. But getting rid of like being like, okay, it's the phone's problems. It's not entirely the phones. The phones are just kind of like the intensifier of our innate drives. And like, we have to figure out how to get around them.
They're also like the optimized item to capture that. Like, maybe we need some phone competition,
I mean, I think we talked about this in December about how I miss when everyone had a different, like, I had a Motorola and like you had an LG and like they had a Sidekick and like I had an NV and like I would watch Gossip Girl.
I think it'll happen.
I think
it's coming because also my phone recently died and I refused to get a new one. I was like, I'm rebuying my phone that I had. So I have an iPhone 13 and I rebought an iPhone 13 just so I'm like, I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm going to stay at 13 and it's part of my brand now.
Okay. You know what's so funny? How about this idea? It's almost like wellness devices meet phone. So like a wellness phone that like does.
Well, that was supposed to be the Apple Watch.
I know. Well, that's the wearable, which by the way, I am like, it's actually killing me. I've like fully lost my Apple Watch and I really like want to cry and like I can't find it. And I even have Lucy who can find anything like on this case. And she tackles like a certain area of the house like every other day to like try to find my phone. Because I told her great riches are in store for her if she discovers my Apple Watch. For those of you who are watching, like Lucy's my 6-year-old, so she's so good.
Okay, you better watch out. She's smart. She's gonna start stealing it.
Yeah,
she's gonna start stealing it to hold it for ransom. Wait for you to offer reward.
I would not put it past her, but she's so cute. She like painfully like went through my whole, like, I can't show you where my desk is, like it's embarrassing, but she like went through my whole desk like item by item to try to find it. And then she's like, Mom, where do you think you had it last? Like, which purse were you using? I'm like, you are a detective. Like, Anyway, but
Those are really
like
smart questions.
a phone that is like Aura Ring, the Aura Ring of phones, and the phone like shuts off and like the phone optimizes, like protects your peace. Like, sorry, that's a really good idea. Like the phone is intended to just, it keeps you connected, but it keeps you healthy.
That reminds me, Melissa, I know you'll like this. I just rewatched Ready Player One over the weekend for like the 20th time because I just love that
My
movie.
favorite. Oh my God, I love that book. I love that movie. I love that whole concept.
And at the end, when he gets control of the Oasis, which is basically their metaverse, he turns it off 2 days of the week. So people have like a more IRL balance. And I think that's a great idea of like a phone, and maybe it shuts down at like 11 p.m. every night or a different time you can adjust in your settings. And like, if there's an emergency, you can get in. But like, other than that, it shuts off until you wake up.
I
think the problem is the FOMO.
The FOMO.
I think it's one thing, if the Oasis is off, it's like I'm not missing anything because nothing's happening. But like, that's like, we're never going to reach a point where they're turning the internet off. As much as like, I agree that would be what is best for humanity, it's just simply like not going to happen. But I think the idea of like making things that don't require your phone more desirable to take part in is something that we're definitely seeing happening more and more.
IRL events all over the place.
IRL. Okay, so I think our conclusion is like in the middle. Maybe we don't need a brick. And like maybe the problem isn't our iPhones, but
deeper social construct.
When
our communities where we feel belonging are too much online, so therefore we can't fully disconnect.
And so in that case, you guys think like the dumb phone resurgence that is talked about every like 6 months, is that like never gonna happen? Do you think it'll just like be everyone will have a different version of like a smartphone? Or
I think that everyone will have a different level of how online they are. That becomes a part of kind of like their social dynamism of like how reachable they are. Like, recently, Sharon's been like, I don't have a phone. He definitely has a phone, but there's only like 10 people who have the number. Like, you can't not have a phone, But it's like he doesn't have a phone in the sense that he's not reachable. He's not giving out his number. He's not on social medias. So I think that everybody will just kind of like draw their line somewhere, and society will kind of settle into like the factions of where you feel comfortable and like how informed and how online you want to be.
So, okay, I agree. And I think what's going to happen also, so like to build on that, is that the degree in which people are online is going to expand. And I think it's primarily because of AI. And I think that there's going to be a continued growth in people like developing relationships and like, again, social, not necessarily romantic, but like relationships. What'd you say?
I was surprised to hear recently that did some research on people who had relationships with AI, and basically like that didn't really change. Again, it just intensified. So if they were kind of like already headed down a path where they like had relational problems and poor coping mechanisms, then having an AI relationship would make it. They could often go on to have like the next relationship be with a real person and everything be normal. So I thought that was really interesting, and I was like kind of surprised.
Well, I like that study.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, so when you get dating my AI boy.
I was going to say, if you find that, Megan, we can like, let's add it into like the call notes from this just as like a thing to read out. I know. I mean, I just think I'm so obsessed with the fact that you brought up Ready Player One. In fact, I really feel like we should write a whole piece like on MT Deco, on, whatever, for you, open text, all the things, all about Ready Player One, because it is such a great way to sort of talk about like an internet experience that is deeper, where it actually makes it feel more tangible and like a place to go, and like, again, like putting on the suit and like going into that world. And like when I say like AI relationships, like if there's more of them, like, how do you, okay, so like in our 3-dimensional world that we live, like you can't interact with your AI boyfriend, but like in an oasis, you could, and like, so
Yeah.
as more and more people have relationships like that, like, is that a space where like those co-relationships can coexist? And like, is that like it's almost like going into another realm in order to do
Yeah.
that. So,
I just read a novel that was called Moderation. That
Okay.
it's basically a romance meets sci-fi novel, but it's about this woman who is a content moderator, and then she gets promoted when her company goes full VR metaverse, and it's like about the company balancing like the ethics of technological advancement versus like what can happen in the game, and it's kind of like it's like the girl version of Ready Player One, I feel like.
I love that. I have to read it. I'm going to put it on my list.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
think we could have, I mean, I do think we will eventually have an Oasis, a Ready Player One universe. I just feel like, obviously, Mark Zuckerberg really tried with the metaverse. I think because we have media like Ready Player One, where it feels like such a complete world, like through VR, seeing the metaverse where it was just like torsos like
I
floating
also think
around.
we don't trust Mark Zuckerberg. I think like we don't want to live in a world created by him. Like I've been thinking a lot about Disney and Walt Disney, and like in addition to being a creative genius, he was very good at leadership and inspiring people and having a vision, and like even now people can be like, "Oh, Walt wouldn't like this," you know? And I feel like we just don't trust Zuck to go live in a world created by him that same way.
That's so interesting you say that. My son Wally is a Savannah Bananas fan, which, are you guys familiar with Savannah
Yeah.
Bananas? Yeah. So he's 7 and he's like right at that age, like just getting into like travel baseball. And it is like such a fun franchise and league. And so like I'm a new follower to this. Like we
Mhm.
literally, like, breaking news, like he doesn't even know, but like we just like me and like 2 of my best mom friends, like the boys are all best friends, like the 3 of them. So we just bought tickets to all go see them see the team in San Diego, and like we're gonna surprise the boys with it. It's like a mom and
That's so
son thing.
cool.
And but the point being is that like it's just fascinating. Like I just started following the main account, like some of the players, and then also this guy Jesse, who is the founder of Savannah Bananas. And he is, Megan, like you should totally follow him. Like this is such a disruption, like this whole concept, right? And like it, it's like there's Major League Baseball, so like why do we need this? And like what is it about it that's like resonating so hard? Like how come it's like, hitting? And it's just funny because he's got all these, like, people are like really drilling into him. Like, what would you do for the NFL? Like, would you do this? And he was like, no, I wouldn't. Like, the NFL is different. And like the way to,
Mhm.
like, he talks about fandom and like whatnot. And his, like, one of the main people he always brings back up is Walt Disney. He talks about Disney and he talks about how Disney created, like, how Disney World was sort of created, like the emotion behind it, like what did it mean? And like and it's interesting the type of decisions that he makes. Like he's like, we will not sell, like we will not do these things. And like there's some pretty hard points that I feel like if I were him this early in like creating this, I wouldn't say that or I wouldn't do that. But all of which to say it is Disney is so fascinating and like a whole world that like I actually personally want to be studying more as well, you know?
Mhm.
We have to do like a case study on the Savannah Bananas in Disney then.
Yeah, when are you going? You can write about it.
I know. March. So
Okay.
2 months. I know. I can't wait. I'm like so excited. I also like the other thing I find to be so interesting about the Savannah Bananas too, like they just announced how like one of their new players is actually like a Broadway star. Like this guy who I think his name is Derek. He was just like really good at baseball. I think he played in high school, even in college. But then he's actually like I think he's either won a Tony or he's like Tony nominated. And he's so they like you guys have to see the social media content. It's actually so good. And like there's a video that is on Jesse's account like that's like earlier, and it's so funny because it's like his his deputies are like, Jesse, you gotta just like have this guy on your radar. Like, he's this amazing singer and he's like singing, like this whole thing. But he actually played competitive baseball. And they're like, he would be like so perfect on the Savannah Bananas. And it's just like, I love this like Renaissance hybrid skill set that like the concept brings to mind. Like, I've even said to like those you guys who know me, like my kids are in ukulele lessons. They've been doing it for 3.5 years. And I'm like, you'll know how to play the guitar. Sorry. Like, it's just like something you do if you were my kid. You have to do it. And like, this is the same idea, and I was even saying like to Wally, like, do you want to like take gymnastics just so you can like master a back handspring for the future Savannah Banana C7? No, but just, I like this idea of like a multi hyphenate
So
skills.
you are maxing memes.
Friction maxing?
Not only are you maxing, you're encouraging the next generation. You're like, you should go try this thing just so you can do it. And I think it's great.
Oh my God, that's so funny. As I'm like which is like, mom life, I love working from home and having my own company because I can like do 25 things at once. Like, and because of Emma. All hail Emma. But I'm literally like registering secretly for summer sailing because they accidentally like, there was a secret friction maxing. There was a secret link that was available to one of the boats. I was actually able to register and I'm not supposed to be able to register for 16 days. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like literally registering my kids for sailing this summer right now. And like Lucy does not want to do it, but she has to. So
anyway. Yeah, tell her she's got a friction max.
Yeah. Okay, we have to wrap it up because speaking of those,
I think if you explain friction maxing to her, she'll totally be understanding.
Well, while she's looking for my Apple Watch, there's been a lot revealed on this call. This isn't even a call. What are we doing? We're just live.
Well, I think it was a very informative call. We talked about everything. Who knew our conversation about friction maxing would end here? But for all of you listening, thank you for joining us live. And Friday, we'll be sending out the replay of this with additional reading if you want to go deeper on any of the topics we covered. And yeah, thank you for joining us. And thank you, Melissa and Megan, for a great convo as always.
Thank you. See you guys later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.